There's an exact moment when someone stops respecting you. It's not gradual, even if it feels that way. It's a precise instant when your brain, or theirs, makes a silent calculation and decides this person no longer counts the way they used to. And the most unsettling part is that calculation almost never has anything to do with what you think it does. It's not your personality. It's not that you're too nice. It's something far more mechanical. And today we're going to take it apart piece by piece. For decades, social psychology has tried to understand respect not as a feeling, but as a signal. A signal the human brain calculates constantly, almost like a social thermometer measuring just one thing: how much cost there is to treating you badly. When that cost drops, respect drops with it. And that cost drops for very specific reasons that science has managed to identify. Primatologists have spent more than 40 years studying social hierarchies in primates, and they found something uncomfortable. Humans share an almost identical neural system with chimpanzees for evaluating status. It fires in milliseconds, before you're even conscious it happened. Neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman, in his research on social cognition, showed that the brain processes another person's status with the same speed it processes a physical threat. In other words, deciding how much respect you deserve isn't a slow, rational process. It's instinctive. So what exactly does that instinct measure? Two things: your perceived capacity to generate consequences and your willingness to actually use it. Here's the key almost nobody understands. It's not about being aggressive. It's about being predictable about your limits. In 1971, social psychologist Robert Cialdini began documenting a pattern that later became central to his work on influence. People trust and respect those who behave consistently even more than those who behave pleasantly. That explains something you've probably lived through. Someone starts treating you badly, not all at once, but through small tests. An out-of-place comment, a favor that turns into an obligation, a joke that crosses a line. And with every single one of those tests, your reaction, or lack of one, becomes information. The human brain is wired to update its model of you with every interaction. If you give in once, it doesn't get filed as that was kind. It gets filed as it's possible to push one step further. And that record builds up. They didn't stop respecting you because you were nice. They stopped respecting you because, without realizing it, you taught them where the line was, and the line wasn't where you thought. Here's where a concept from behavioral economics applies surprisingly well to human relationships: the scarcity principle. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely has shown across several experiments that the value we assign to something or someone is directly tied to how available it seems. It's not cynicism. It's a real, measurable cognitive bias. The more accessible something appears, the less mental effort we invest in valuing it. When you're available all the time, when you say yes automatically, when your time and energy carry no apparent cost for the other person, their brain simply stops consciously calculating your value. It's not malice. It's pure neural economics. This doesn't mean you need to become distant or calculating. It means understanding that respect has a scarcity component most people completely ignore. There's a particularly revealing line of research from psychologist Albert Mehrabian on nonverbal communication. A large part of what we communicate isn't what we say, it's what we don't say. Silence in the face of a crossed line isn't read as patience. It's read as permission. This is hard to hear, but it's consistent with years of research on group dynamics. Social groups, whether an office, a family, or a circle of friends, tend to calibrate their behavior based on the most recent signal they receive, not your entire track record. So every time something bothers you and you decide to say nothing to avoid conflict, you're actually sending a clear signal: this is allowed. And other people's social brains register it exactly that way, with no nuance. The good news, also backed by research in negotiation and interpersonal dynamics, is that respect isn't a resource you lose forever. It can be recalibrated. The key, according to researchers like William Ury in negotiation theory, isn't forcing yourself on others. It's becoming predictable again. Say what you're going to do, and do it. Set a limit once, calmly, and hold it without needing to repeat it 20 times. The human brain doesn't respect the volume of your voice. It respects the consistency between what you say and what actually happens afterward. If one thing is clear after all this, it's that respect was never about being harder, colder, or more distant. It was always about being coherent. About your limits looking the same on a Tuesday as they do on a Friday, with your boss the same way as with your best friend. The next time you feel like someone is treating you differently than you deserve, before asking yourself what you did wrong, ask yourself what you taught them was allowed. That's almost always where the answer is. And if this video made you think of a specific moment in your own life, tell me about it in the comments. Sometimes putting those moments into words is the first step to changing them. See you in the next video.